How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Good morning.
Excellent. It's a stressful day for a lot of folks. Let's talk a little bit about Black Friday. Why do you think that this event, Black Friday, has become such a big deal?
You know, it's I don't know when it took on that name, but having been in retail myself for 28 years back in the day, I think, if I remember right, the term refers to the fact that a lot of retailers view this as a chance to become profitable. And so historically, numerically, if you're in the red, quote, you're losing money. If you're in the black, you're making a profit. And so I think the term came about because the holiday season are built around the Thanksgiving weekend. The notion was that if shoppers pour out into the stores and the malls and so forth and buy, the retailers have an opportunity to do so much volume that it actually makes them profitable. And for some, they would say their profit is built around the third quarter and particularly somewhere around Thanksgiving until Christmas. So I think that's kind of the origin of Black Friday.
Yeah, I looked up some statistics. It said 30% of all retail stores' profits come during the holiday season, which is, less than a month almost.
It puts a lot of pressure, obviously, on a retailer, and hence that's, I think, why it gets so much hype. It's not true for every store. There are some, depending on what they do, if they're in the swimming pool business, then it's not as significant. But for many retailers, absolutely, it's an important time of the year. I think the thing to understand is they've ramped up their inventory. They've ramped up the store itself, employees, all of those things that you would do to anticipate doing additional business and volume. And so there's a lot riding on the anticipation of good sales because that store owner, that store manager has prepared themselves, their store, their employees, their cost structure around expecting a good outcome and good sales. And therefore, there is a lot of pressure built around this day, this weekend, and for the next month or so.
And you are obviously the Carroll County Chamber president, and your focus is on more smaller businesses and smaller retails that are kind of local to this community. Right now there's kind of an attack on all small businesses, especially retail. You've got big box stores, you've got franchises, you've got your Walmarts, Targets, but now you also have a new giant that is really a giant, Amazon, which is extremely hard to compete with. But what is the game plan for a small retailer to kind of compete during this holiday season?
They all are asking that question, and obviously smart retailers who stay in business have to find a way. They use the term find a niche, find a market, find a product, find something that you can do and hopefully do it as well or better than others. And understanding that technology has changed everybody's world. As I sit in this studio, I'm thinking about the old reel-to-reel and the way things looked in a radio. I hear the bankers say folks don't come in their banks anymore. That's why there are less and less branches. You can buy insurance, automobiles, whatever online. It is what it is. And the reality is, even though I was a small business, and so I've always stood up for the small business, they're the local ones. They're the ones who are invested and reinvested in the community. But the truth is, retail, period, is under attack, be it big box, small business, independent, franchise. And because the world has changed because of technology, then all retailers are being forced to ask that question. In today's world, what do we have to do, particularly what do we have to do different in order to be successful?
And what do you think is the thing that they have to do differently?
So, back to your question on the little guys. Historically, customer service is a big deal. And we all talk about that. You and I talked about it earlier before we were on the air, and it's important. We all still want customer service. So an opportunity for a smaller business is to focus on customer service, to focus on meeting the needs of that customer, to be able to be a little more flexible or nimble in terms of serving that customer, meeting their needs, taking care of special orders or special accommodations. And so, again, I would say that small businesses are going to, if they're smart, they're going to focus on really trying to address their customer, their clientele, buy the products and services, hire the right kind of people that can serve their customers. And you just have to find some way to make yourself stand out from the pack and look different.
And let's kind of focus on the customer right now, because as we all, and any business major, any business person would know, the customer's always right. Everybody is customer focused. Why would it make sense for a customer to go to a smaller retail store rather than go to Amazon?
It's a great question. And I think that the issue is this: we're all busy. We thought all these modern conveniences would make life better and we'd have more spare time. The truth is, we all have less time. And if you look at shopping habits and how much time a person had on average per month, it's way less. So clearly, if you are the customer, we're looking for efficiency. We're looking for customer service. We're looking to be able to go find what we want, do it quickly if we're in a hurry. If not, then we want that experience of taking time to look around, to shop around, to interact with employees or the store owner. So, part of it, I guess, depends on our time and our motivation. But in general terms, we have less time to go and look and shop, and therefore we expect to have efficiency when we go to actually into a store. True, there is the convenience aspect of sitting in your PJs and getting online, but for me, that I don't choose to do that. That's just me. Others do, and for most people, it's a mix of that. But the reality is, you can't or probably won't buy everything online. And when we do go to that store for that experience, we want it to be a good experience, and that's what the stores are trying to do, is make that a positive experience, to be effective, to be efficient. And many are doing that well.
And we're talking about small businesses and being customer focused. And as you said, a lot of people find it very convenient to sit in their PJs. Right now, the largest spenders are still the baby boomers by several $billions. But next year, it's estimated that millennials will actually be the largest spenders in the economy. And how does a small business attract those specific people who are so used to the internet age and ordering stuff online?
It's a great question, and there's been a lot of seminars done by chambers and others to accommodate that. There's an interesting thing, though, that we're seeing and hearing, that the younger folks who have access to this, to order online or whatever, and they grew up with it, they actually are reverting back in some way. The pendulum is swinging the other way, and they want that experience. We're told now that a sense of place, a sense of uniqueness. They're looking for something special or unique in anything they do, be it shopping, be it entertaining, be it whatever their free time. So in an interesting way, as an opportunity for business, for small business, for retail, for entertainment, service industry, to appeal to these younger folks, particularly, who have been, you don't have an interaction with a person if you're doing it through technology online. That opportunity to actually have a personal experience is rather intriguing, and in some ways, there's this conversation that the pendulum is swinging, and they're looking for an experience, and so actually that can be an opportunity.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of millennials. I myself am a millennial. Look for as you said, the experience shopping. And when you go to these big box stores, you don't get that kind of experience. You don't get the experience shopping online. But I mean, let's take underground vinyl or underground books or Frontier vinyl on the square. Both of those are kind of an experience shopping. You're looking at old records and all that kind of stuff. Who would think that a record store that sells mainly vinyls would do so well in 2017? But yet they are, and I think that is definitely a credit to millennials wanting that kind of experience, and people in general wanting that kind of experience.
I would say so. And again, you can't replace, when you talk to folks who have expertise in events and all of that, they say you want to appeal to all senses. And so the sight and the sound and the smell, and you can't replicate that online at a computer. So if you can get out and have an experience that appeals to those senses, to these human bodies of ours, clearly that's an opportunity for something that we enjoy, would appreciate. And so, it's a challenge, but also it's an opportunity for retailers, big and small, to be able to appeal to that sense of experience.
Now, since we are kind of seeing a renaissance in small business retail, what would drive somebody to really, you have experience as a clothier, you were a small business owner and operator for decades. What drives somebody to open up a small retail business?
That's a very good question. We used to call business owners, independent business owners, and there is some independence there. It takes a special individual who's willing to commit, and a lot of folks will come to us and say, I want to own a business, and they're naive if they think they're going to be the boss. They come in last and go home first and have a 3-hour lunch. The reality is these people are pouring their heart and soul. They've invested money, which they may not even have, into this business, and it's not easy. It's physically demanding. It's emotionally demanding. The time is there. So if you're dealing with someone who owns a business, that person's all in, and that's part of the experience. That's why I like to go in the store of somebody who owns that shop, the manager, particularly the owner. It's fun to interact with them. I mean, they totally are invested in their product, in their service, and their key to success is dependent upon those interactions. And so it takes a unique person who gets into it and can stay in it. The sad part is if you look at the national numbers, I think after 5 years, only 30% of businesses are still in business. And so for those who survive, there's a reason for it. And generally it's a commitment to excellence, a commitment for them to do their part in order to be successful. And it's not just about buying the right product. It's not just about customer service. They've got to be smart in terms of stewards of the money and how to handle employees. And there's a lot of factors that go behind it. But hats are off to all of those today and every day who put that key in the door and unlock that door and turn the lights on. And, most of our members at the Chamber are a small business, and you and I were talking earlier, 75% of all the businesses in the state of Georgia have less than 10 employees. So I like to say small business is big business.
And that's a good quote. I like that a lot. And we're sitting here with Carroll County Chamber of Commerce President Daniel Jackson on the Community Voice, discussing Black Friday and small business and how important small business is to that holiday. It really is a holiday. I mean, it's almost as recognized as Thanksgiving nowadays. But you guys are listening to the Community Voice, and we're going to take a quick break and get right back to it and hear a message from Tanner Health System.
chamber to encourage everybody, hey, let's remember we are fortunate that we have a lot of assets here. Let's give them all at least a first opportunity. If they don't have what we need or can do it, then it's okay to look somewhere else, but let's give them a chance.
Absolutely. And I seem to remember that you guys have recently won an award.
We have won an award or two, and so that's exciting as well. I guess if nothing else, it's affirmation. And back to, one of the things that came to my mind as we were doing this was several of our entities in the community have won awards themselves, in healthcare and education, utility companies, small retailers. And so the realization was not only we always said, hey, we have these assets, let's utilize them. We realized that they all were doing quite well. And so actually when we had the unveiling and brought the media in, and that was the first group we talked to, we had put on paper 3.5 pages of local business, industry, healthcare, and that kind of thing who had won awards. And so when we said, hey, when we say let's think Carroll first, we have a legitimate reason to say that, because not only do we have these things, they actually are doing really well. In many cases, they're tops in the region, the state, the nation, the Southeast, whatever. And so they deserve for us to give them that first shot. They've invested themselves and done well. So, we've won a few awards, but so have a lot of the folks that we're helping to promote.
Now, you're president of the Chamber of Commerce. Why is it important for a small business to be a part of that organization?
Historically, we say chambers are the face and voice of the business community. Obviously, it's by choice, so people don't have to be a member. But as they say, a membership has its privileges. And really the question that we try to ask at the chamber each year, and we're going through our planning and preparing for next year, is, as a chamber member, what can we provide them that's a return on their investment? And when you think about that business owner, whether it's personal development through the Leadership Academy, whether it's all of the seminars on how do you use social media, we talked about technology, or how do you become effective in today's changing world. So whether it's financial planning, how to buy, how to market, how to advertise, whatever it is, anything we can do to make that professional do a better job or have a better outcome. Everybody wants exposure, so opportunities for marketing their business or putting the word out. Relationships are what life is about, and so that opportunity to interact and network, the B2B piece of it. And so the Chamber's role is to serve these members by providing them with resources, with services, to be able to, if somebody calls up and says, who can I do business with, to be able to show them a directory and say, in this category, these are people who choose to be Chamber members. The national numbers show that people trust and respect those who are part of a Chamber. And so for all of those reasons and more, it just makes sense for folks to be a part. They depend on us to represent them, to track legislation that affects business, and those are just a few of the pieces of the Chamber world. But at the end of the day, the question is, what can the Chamber do to provide that value or return on investment to a member?
Absolutely. And we've got about a minute left in the program today, and I know that you've been a clothier and a titan of industry yourself. Can you just describe that experience in about 30 seconds?
I logged in 28 years in the clothing biz. A week after high school, I don't know why, I told my dad I thought I wanted to be in the clothing business. The next thing I knew, I was interviewing with all the clothiers here in this area. So I had a great run at that. I enjoyed it. It was a great life for me and a lot of lessons learned. And, I guess that's what created a passion, because I've been there. I've been behind that register. I've stood the long hours, and I know the commitment that our local businesses are making. I also know that they're the folks who are giving back to the community. If we all think about nonprofit, civic clubs, faith-based, all of these entities in our community, schools who are asking people to buy tickets and to sponsor this and donate to that, it's these local guys that are doing that. And I remember some days thinking we're giving away more than we're selling, but we're all in this thing together. And so it's just important for us to remind our citizens, let's support those who are in our local community, because they're the ones that support us, and we all benefit.
Well, Daniel Jackson, thank you so much for being on this Community Voice. Sorry again about that technical difficulty, but we got through it anyway.
It's all good. It's a beautiful day, so thank you for letting me in.
Absolutely. Right. I hope everybody has a great Black Friday and a great holiday weekend. Take care, everybody.